Nambitha, thank you so much for your time this morning. A very good morning to you. It really is a significant loss to the South African creative industries. Untate Patrick Shai, having you worked with him on Ashes to Ashes, for example, the likes of Generations, just how much of an incredible, a significant icon was he in the South African context?
I'm grateful that you called him an icon because his life was iconic on its own, but his work, he was quite a force. As much as I started working with Patrick since from Yuzo. That was like back in the day. I think we were about your age at the time, if you don't mind me saying. And it was quite an education for me to, to get to know such a man because he was very, very driven. And by the time we worked together on Generations, Nabomenzi, it was just another level. We brought literally a completely different level, a new level of performance to the screen. And he was a good friend. He was an amazing friend. And I think one of the things that, you can attribute to him is the trust that he gave his fellow actors.
Mm. I mean, you're speaking here about the trust that he gave to his fellow actors as well. It's one that is not just known in the small screen, but also in theatre. And the ability to make stories come alive is something that we'll forever remember him for, won't we?
Yes, absolutely. Patrick loved performing. He loved telling stories. And just as we were sitting around telling stories. So for him, telling stories was, I think, in his blood. So be it on the small screen and the big screen and on the stage, it was the same for him. It was just a matter of adjusting performance. He was dedicated. He was born for it, and he was made for it. And we used to tease him about, there's so many different nuances that are involved in adjusting your performance. And I spoke with somebody yesterday who was telling us about how he was teaching them how to adjust the performance and also the script work. And he always said, no, kafana, because it was always the same. It's always the same thing, but you put your whole soul into it, and that's what he did.
I mean, speaking about putting his whole soul into it, many would say that he's a man that lived his life authentically. I remember that also being involved in conversations around gender-based violence. He himself coming up and being the face of the campaign, saying, I'm willing to stand as the face of the campaign and say, yes, I was involved in gender-based violence. Yes, I've had to learn how to become a better man over time. And that's something that not many people are willing to admit. I can imagine in a world that is full of patriarchy and in a South African context where gender-based violence unfortunately has become the new pandemic. Just how authentic was he on screen as well as off screen?
His program of Kulumandota, when he and I spoke about it, because I was working with Diva Nexus, which is a women empowerment program, and he and I, especially, I remember when we were working on Ashes to Ashes, we would workshop each other on this conversation as to, how do we pair, and we talked about how to teach men to listen and how to teach women to listen to the different voices. And he was constantly committed, and he was also, I think he was always learning about what's new, what else, what don't I know? And I think not enough credit is given to him for this project, because when you start to do the work, and Faith, you and I know what we're talking about when we say doing the work. When you start doing the work on self, and then you acknowledge yourself consistently, then it means you consistently are committing yourself to making the change. And you also consistently allowing yourself to be put on display, and you become a target. And most recently, he was a target on social media, but you also admitted that you are an abuser. And he said, yes, I was an abuser, and now I am not. And that is something that people don't seem to forget, that you can be reformed. And he wanted to make sure that people understood that men can be reformed, men can grow, and men can learn, and men can become better. And Patrick was very much, his spirit was very much about that.
We're definitely going to have to leave it here, Sis Nambitha, but thank you very much for sharing your time as well as your sentiments around what a legend, a tree, giant tree has fallen, and that is in the form of Patrick Shai. His condolences and tributes continue to pour in.